everyone. It's 6 o'clock, or actually 6:02 on Tuesday, March 19th. This is a formal public safety meeting, and our topic is update on the school safety protocols in Springfield Public Schools. Specifically, what recently happened at our high school in science and technology. Had the opportunity to meet with the superintendent and his team. And also Adam is here to represent. And let me backtrack a little bit. I apologize. I want to recognize our counselors that are here in person, which is Tracy Whitfield. Counselors online is Brian Centinello, Counselor Katie Walsh, Counselor Jose Delgado, Counselor Victor Davila. I think those are all the counselors. Also want to recognize Mike Dobbs and Ryan Walsh and Sergeant Duda. I think he's on the line as well. Captain Duda, excuse me. So I'm sorry I didn't recognize. I want to recognize those officials as well. So back to the incident that happened at SciTech. I did have the opportunity to speak with superintendent and his team, and they gave an overview as to what occurred and what they can share with me. But I also thought it was critical that we get superintendent and his team to come and voice what happened, play by play the best they can. Let us know what happened at science and technology, and then what are the safety measures, what they obviously can share, because we don't want to tell all the spots where everybody's at for folks to take advantage of that. Yes, Counselor. Okay. So I just want to lay the groundwork for that and really just open it up to Adam Fenn, who represents the Springfield Public Schools.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
First and foremost, thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here tonight to engage with the members of the City Council. It's usually the school committee we're engaging with, so it's an honor to be here. Unfortunately, what was bringing me here is obviously not a great situation, but there's obviously some things I can speak about in a public meeting and some I can't. But I do have some information here that I believe will prove helpful to clarify some things and also go over our safety protocols. Again, there are some that I can talk about in generalities, but I'm not going to get into specifics because obviously, like Councilor Click said, we don't want people to know exactly what we're doing. So what I'll start with is, due to the support of our school committee, the superintendent and the mayor, we've invested millions upon millions of dollars in the past 10 years with our safety protocols, equipment, and our technology. I'm going to list off a few here, definitely not limited to this, but I'm going to list off a few. So Rave 911 emergency broadcast platform, which our employees have on their cell phones. When there's an emergency, we can communicate with them. Newly installed door alarm system to where if an exterior door is open during the day, it beeps and our security guards and or our clerks in the office can look at the corresponding camera to see if anybody's coming in that shouldn't. We're actually in the process right now of installing a base radio set in every office that can contact SPD dispatch directly in a case of emergency. We've greatly enhanced our camera coverage over the last few years. This right here is a big one that played a pivotal role in this. We've granted real-time crime analysis access to our cameras in emergency situations. Again, they can only access them in emergency situations, and this obviously rose to that occasion. Metal detectors, now I'm happy to say that we actually rolled out our first artificial intelligence weapons detection system called Evolve. We just did it at South End on Wednesday. We're going to be doing one a week for the next 5 to 6 weeks until they're fully installed. So we're very excited about that. Identikid visitor entry system. Everybody that comes into our schools is signed in by the security guard of the office. We also have Be Safe, which is an emergency operating procedure book, which spells out the blueprints of our building, all of our plans, all of our emergency plans. Obviously, the Quebec officers that are SPD inside our buildings, and the security guards that we have in place. We have 42 security guards in the district. Quite frankly, we do as much, if not more, than any school district in the country. And again, that's due to the support that we've gotten from the school committee superintendent and mayor. In regards to our lockdown protocols and training, I just want it to be known that we do conduct 2 lockdown drills per year in every school. Okay, we do that personally, our office, our staff, along with the police that are in the buildings. We attend professional development days, extended days to educate our staff. We send out multiple correspondence a year on our protocols to all our staff. And all of our information lives on our website for staff to refer to at any time. It's definitely impossible to quantify how many security breaches this has prevented due to the measures we have in place. I have a brief summary of what occurred on March 11th. It's a very active police investigation. I can't talk about everything, but what I can do is kind of give you a brief timeline to kind of put into perspective what exactly happened. So I want everybody to understand that the event itself lasted less than 2 minutes. All right. The first radio call that went out to administration was for a fight between two students in the gym. Very routine call, happens daily in the school. So everybody responding to this call thought they were responding to a fight in the gym. At no point did anybody know that anybody had a weapon on them as they were responding. The second call was another call for a escalating fight and some possible non-SciTech students outside that were trying to gain access to the school. Again, we get this, as you can imagine, we have these large schools all next to each other. We get, Putnam students going over to SciTech, Central students. It happens every day. So really, the response to that, again, is call Quebec, call the administration, get them there. 99.9% of the time, they're ushered off campus, and we don't have incidents. Unfortunately, the door was breached. And I want everybody to understand too, that they were in the school for 27 seconds, okay? And again, up until the last 4 seconds, nobody knew there was a weapon, all right? This was a fight. They came into the school, got in a fight, and then, the weapon was obviously brandished. Can't go into any more details than that, but what I will say is, due to real-time crime analysis having access to our cameras, they were immediately able to go into the cameras as the call came over from the Quebec officers who were responding. They were able to immediately identify which way the perpetrators went, that there was nobody injured, the vehicle that they fled in, which obviously proved to aid in the investigation. This was an awful event, but an isolated event. I want to focus on the facts and the why. Why did this happen? It happened because violent criminal adult offenders who were out on bail decided to come to the school and wreak havoc. SciTech and the school department were victims that day. The staff and the Quebec officers acted heroically. And I want to say that again, they acted heroically, and undoubtedly, without their response, this would have been far, far worse. And I hope at some point they're commended and not condemned. So, I can't, as you can probably understand, I can't go into a lot of specifics about other things, but I felt that this would be appropriate, and I felt it would kind of shine some light on exactly what occurred. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. Now I want to open it up. Yeah, so I want to open up for questions, and right now, Councilor Whitfield has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you said the door was breached. Did someone have to open the door?
The door was opened from the inside. But again, it's an active police investigation and I can't give.
I mean, I'm not,
But
co-chair C3, so they come and they talk to us
Yep.
about what they can, so I don't really
Yeah.
need you to go
Yeah.
into the details.
Yep.
A lot of it's on the news.
yeah, oh yeah, of
And
course.
we all seen that. We
Yep.
know there's a reward out for
Yeah.
one of the perpetrators, like, we know the car he was driving. We know a lot of the details, so we don't have to go into it. You don't have to go into it. But, this isn't the first time I heard about this door. This isn't the first time I heard about the kids leaving,
Mhm.
going to Adams Park to hang out,
Mhm.
coming back to the school and getting into this door. So this has been an ongoing problem before this perpetrator got into the school. I don't really understand why it is allowed to continue to happen, with the kids leaving and coming back.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not in the school. I oversee the security department, and, I would have to defer specifically to the principals of the schools on, what they do and duties and who they post.
Mhm.
I will say that things have tightened up a lot at SciTech. We do have a security guard posted in the sports complex. This particular instance, what I can say is everybody who needed to be in the right spots were there. The door wasn't breached because kids were sneaking in. I mean, the situation was where it was, everybody responded.
Mhm.
And, the door was breached, due to it being open colleague was trying to help another colleague, and unfortunately he was overpowered, and he put himself in harm's way and actually got, assaulted as they were coming in, so.
And let me backtrack. I do want to thank the staff.
Yeah.
For what they did.
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
When you got a family to go to yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't know what danger you're putting yourself into and how it's gonna affect your family. So I always want to thank the staff for everything that they did. They did protect those children.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that one of the staff got jumped, I'll say.
Well, yeah.
That's the word that we use,
Mhm.
the street, got jumped. I do wanna say thank you to them, for what they did because it could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
Somebody could have got shot,
Yep.
somebody could have died. So in no way, shape or form am I blaming any of the staff or any of the adults that were involved, well, I think the perpetrators may have been adults, but
Yeah.
not any of the school staff or any of the, adults that helped out. So I do wanna say that. You said something about repeat offenders. It sounds just like the mayor to me, just reciting everything that he says all the time. And while I do agree that that is one method
Mhm.
of solving the gun violence issue, there are many more things that we can be doing to protect our students, to get them out of that lifestyle. And this isn't on you, but I have to say it out loud
Mhm.
because I'm tired of hearing repeat violent offenders, repeat violent offenders, repeat violent offenders. Like that is the only problem. And that is the only problem that needs to be solved, and it's not.
Yeah.
We need a more comprehensive, strategic approach to combating gun violence, and that's just one measure of solving it. Because there's people with guns that are not repeat violent offenders,
Sure.
and if they shoot somebody, then what?
Yeah, all I can say is, the school department, we're committed to helping in any way that we can with the community and the schools. But what I'll say is, I'm not trying to echo anybody.
Mhm.
I'm about the facts, and the facts are what I said, and that is the fact that they were adult offenders who were out on bail, just released a week prior, and that's what happened. And
Yeah.
if they weren't, I'd be saying that as well. So I just want to put that out there, that I'm not trying to echo anybody or anything. I'm just sticking to the facts of the case. So.
But it just feels like so rehearsed at this point, because that's the only thing that's being said as it relates to gun violence in the city of Springfield. When we should have a much broader conversation about what is really going on. Why do these young people take to the streets? Why do they have guns? What is the solution of getting more guns off the street? Why are certain things happening? Like, we really got to get to the root cause.
I
And the
agree.
root cause is not just repeat violent
I
offenders,
agree.
because they came to this lifestyle and there's a reason that they're in this lifestyle. What is the cause of that? And then maybe we can work to getting them off the street. But until we like dig deep into the root cause of what's really taking place in the city of Springfield, getting repeat violent offenders definitely will help, giving them more bail. But at some point, they're still gonna get out. Then what?
I
If there's no
agree that it's.
services, no support,
Yeah.
nothing for them, they're still gonna get out, and this is still gonna happen with repeat violent offenders.
I agree, and I think we all need to work together and try to solve that problem.
Right, that's all I have to know, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Anyone else online? Any counselors online? Have any questions?
LeVar, I'm trying to raise my hand. I don't know, I can't find the little button.
You have the floor, Counselor Walsh.
Thank you for having this meeting and sharing this information. You talked a lot, sir, you talked a lot about the staff, but I'd like to know what was done for the students after the incident.
In what capacity? I'm sorry.
And mental health.
Well, you had
Yeah.
someone to come into the school, someone had a
Yep.
gun. So, I mean, is there a seminar? Do you talk to the kids? Are they given any protocol? Are they told not to let anybody in, to advise you of situations? I mean, obviously, there had to be some response to the students.
Yeah, and again, I oversee the safety security portion, so
Before the-
obviously the education, obviously trickles down from the staff to the students about how important it is to keep the doors shut. But the next day, we had counselors on site. The school department had multiple counselors on site to meet with anybody who needed to be met with, anybody who was traumatized by the event. So they, that section of the school department, that department took care of that. They were there all day. They're actually there for a couple days. So, they met with anybody who needed counseling. They were offering services, but you know, as far as the communications that went out, from our communication department at the school department. Again, I don't handle the communications or any piece of the counseling, but I know there was a multifaceted approach on how they responded the next day as far as that.
Do you have any numbers? Do you have any
I
idea?
don't,
Hey,
I don't have any.
LeVar, did you invite anybody from the school to come?
From the
To the-
school?
Yeah.
Mr. Finn is representing the school. You mean somebody to
Like-
speak
like
on
a-
behalf of mental
Yeah,
health
somebody
or?
that's actually working in the school or is in the school or, you know, is a teacher or a counselor.
No, I didn't personally invite that, but if you want those numbers, I'm sure I can reach out to the superintendent to grab those numbers for you, counselor.
Just more of a hands-on type response. I think we were very lucky that no one got hurt.
Absolutely.
Blessed.
Anything else, counselor?
No, I was concerned about the students. I know
Yeah.
there have other reactions from them.
Yes, I'll definitely push that question up to the superintendent and get a response for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Counselor Davila, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for putting this meeting together. Good afternoon to everybody. Let me start by saying that I too echo the sentiment in which I am grateful to the good Lord that nobody got hurt, because this could have been a fiasco, a true fiasco. We have enough of a fiasco going on in the city that we don't need the extra fiasco. With that being said, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, Alex, I heard your name is Alex, but I might have missed it. Can you tell me who you are? What's your title? What exactly do you do?
Yeah, it's Adam Fenn, Adam, not
Oh,
Alex.
so Adam, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and I'm the Director of Safety and Security for the district.
Safety and security, okay. So I got two questions for you. Adam, the first question is, you piqued my interest when you talked about artificial intelligence gun safety. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the district just funded through the school committee. It's called Evolve, and it's artificial intelligence weapons detection. And essentially what it's looking for is guns. And it's got a lot of comprehensive information on the website, but they'll be posted at the doors, run by our security guards and the staff as they come in. And essentially it takes the human element out of searching as far as a metal detector. So this is specifically searching for weapons, artificial intelligence searching for weapons. It actually is, again, we just rolled it out at South End, and it's pretty impressive what it does. If it does alert, it boxes in the exact area of what it thinks is a weapon. So you know exactly where to hone in on those searches. So again, we've got the first one out and running. And so far so good. We're very impressed with it.
But Adam, is this a program, a software?
It's a software, but it looks like a metal detector, but it's wider. And you can free flow through it. That's the beauty of it. So at a central high school where you have 2,000 kids, realistically, you can't search everybody every single day on the way in. But with this technology, we're going to be able to do that.
And how much does this cost?
Spitballing, I believe it was over $1 million for for the units that we did purchase for the schools that we're going to put them in right now.
So we have more than one?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what school they're gonna be going into?
Again, I'm trying not to, I'm giving a lot, and I'm trying, in public settings, we usually don't want to disclose all of our security measures so that, people that are trying to do bad things know exactly what we're doing and where we're doing it. But we can just say that they're going to be going into our secondary schools.
I get that, Adam. So let me go back to this Evolve. It's called Evolve. Say that again, Evolve
Evolve, EVOLV Technologies.
technology.
If you go to Gillette Stadium, if you go to any major sporting venue, actually the Mass Mutual Center has it. They came online with it as well. It's really the next wave of security. It's going to be replacing metal detectors completely.
Right. So, Adam, I will be honest with you. I know nothing about this technology. So just walk me baby steps, please, if you could. Is this you talked about, if I understood you, you gave me the impression that it's some sort of a, not a metal detector, but as you walking through the school, is that gonna be a camera system? Is it gonna be a, what is it gonna look, what does it look like? What,
So you're familiar with what a stand-up metal detector looks like,
Yeah.
right? So imagine one of those double wide. Essentially, if you walked into a department store, say at Kohl's, and you know, the partitions that they have, they might beep if you don't take a tag off of something. It's essentially set up like that. And it's at the doors, it's at the entrance of the school, the main entrance of the school where the visitors and the students come in. So it's not cameras throughout the school or anything like that. It's a system right at the door. So when they come in, right as they walk into the door, they're screened, just like we're screening now through metal detectors. It's gonna just replace that.
but this doesn't use any kind of facial recognition to,
No
so it's
facial
just,
recognition, no.
I'm afraid the next question I'm gonna ask, you're gonna tell me you don't wanna tell, because of security measures, but how does it identify, how does it know what a potential weapon look like? I'm
I
talking
mean,
about guns, right?
yeah, we're talking about guns, yes. And, you know, it recognizes through artificial intelligence, and hence the name Evolve. It's constantly evolving, so it's learning. And it knows what they're shaped like and the density and the capacity of the weapon,
Okay.
so it recognizes it. If somebody is bringing one
Okay.
through, it recognizes it.
Right, so just to be clear, there's no facial recognition involved with this technology, so that a student doesn't get tagged, um, or picked out of a crowd, just,
Nope, nope, and
Okay.
everybody's going through it. It's an inclusive way to search everybody.
right, right,
Everybody's going through it.
right. Just one more question, if you indulge me, Mr. Chair. So I understand of what happened, the unfortunate incident, as I have read it through the news and the explanation that you gave us, and I thank you for that. And so I wish there was somebody from the school, from the police department here, Mr. Chair, but
There
can
is.
you talk to me? Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Captain Dudas here.
Oh, good afternoon, Captain Duda. So this question is for both Duda, Captain Duda, and Adam. Would you be able to speak to me, and please give me something other than this an active investigation, about the relationship between that area, which is extremely problematic, and the incident that happened. Um, what are we doing to address the issues there? Because I recall last year there was a big to-do, a public to-do about cleaning the area, but that has hence stopped. There hasn't, that I'm aware of, there hasn't been any big sweeps or issues or follow-ups in that area, which is an eternally very dangerous area. Are they connected in any way, shape, or form? And what are we doing in that area to make it safer for the kids in the school? Anyway, jump in.
This is Captain Duda. What do you mean
Good
by
afternoon,
the
Captain.
area?
Well, we know, Captain, that area, it's, there's been some issues there in the past, hasn't it?
24 hours a day. It's not necessarily related to the school, but yes, there are issues in that area.
Okay. So are we trying to enhance the security there to affect the school?
Well, I stand by everything Adam said. He was right on the money. We have good school security and everything, but that
Right,
area is no more problematic than other areas. So I don't understand. This is an isolated incident, so I'm not sure what the area has to do with it.
well, I keep hearing an isolated incident, but if you, you know, and that's very concerning, but we know that sometimes the areas don't affect, and I have heard that there has been some issues, so what I'm trying to ask is, you know, are we enhancing, are we actively ensuring the area it's secure for kids? Because these two people got there somehow with a weapon.
Yes, they drove there in a private vehicle and parked and got
Right.
out at the Dunkin' Donuts. There's a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot right there.
Right, no, I get it.
As far as the police go, the police are there all the time. But
In the school.
well, in the school, yes, but in the area around the school, they're there all the time as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Captain Duda. And I will say this to both of you, to you, Captain, and to you, Adam. I thank you for what you guys have done. I'm sure that the people responded quite heroically, but this has shaken the community. Question is to be asked, and they will be asked. And so we're not targeting anybody because I feel both of you are a little defensive. And so that's not, at least from my point, that's not the intent. But this question is to be asked, and so they will be asked, and they will continue to be asked because we want the best, just like you gentlemen do. And so with that, I thank you, Mr. Chair. Adam, thank you, Captain Duda. Thank you so much for your time and service.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions?
Well, Mr. Chair,
Counselor Delgado.
thank you, Chair. Well, one of my questions Victor asked, which was about the Evolve thing. Well, first off, thank you, Chair Clay Bruce for hosting this. You've been really diligent since this happened and kind of helping us keep informed as well as some of the things that we had yesterday. I want to thank you because, you know, this is not something that we sit here and think about happening, right? And when we think about things that we see on the news across the country, we always think that's not gonna happen here, right? Well, guess what? It did. And so obviously I know parents are kind of traumatized, I'm sure. The students are traumatized, so I definitely would love to hear what we're doing for the students in terms of counseling. I think that, I know that's not on you per se, but you know, echoing Counselor Walsh. You know, I'd love to hear more on that, but I mean, this is obviously has woken us up, and obviously you guys already have things in place, but this is obviously gonna make us work a little bit harder. I also want to echo, you know, my colleague Counselor Whitfield on the issue with that door. You know, in terms of making sure we can figure out what's going on there. And it's funny you mentioned the thing about the statement, because it kind of sounded a little to me, so, and I know you guys are saying this is kind of an active investigation, so I'll leave that at that, but I did catch that too, Counselor Whitfield. I guess my question is, you know, just going forward, you know, are you guys gonna continue to keep this council updated? Because I know you typically don't meet with us, you meet with the school committee, but I definitely, as a parent
Yeah.
and as a husband to an educator who works in the Springfield schools, I mean, you know, this is something that's hit close to me too. And so, you know, we want to make sure obviously that we do everything in our powers for this not to happen again. And again, to Counselor Whitfield's point, right? There are people out there, I mean, from what I've read, one of the suspects is from Chicopee, right? So, but with that being said, we need to make sure we do everything in our power to make sure this doesn't happen again. We've already had one going on, and so, yeah, I just thank you for everything you guys are doing, and that you guys are gonna continue to do for our students to make sure that this doesn't happen
No,
again.
I appreciate that, and, you know, we love to work collaboratively with you. You know, anything you need, any information, you know, we're definitely want to work together, so.
Yeah, because one of my concerns initially was there was a lot of information coming out that then was kind of incorrect, and I know this is all happening in real time.
Social media.
Well, the social media showed the video though, and I think that the video kind of corrected some of the things that went out initially.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't blame social media. I think social media kind of,
It helped, but it also caused a few issues that day too, though. It definitely caused some panic when it, you know, it didn't need to, but I definitely hear what you're saying about it too, so.
Well, Mr. Chair.
thank you.
All right, yes, so we'll have Counselor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple things I just wanted to comment on. First, I've been talking about gun violence since I became a city councilor and before. This has been on my radar. This is nothing that I thought would never happen. This is exactly what I thought would happen because of the gun violence, because we don't put enough funding toward it, because we don't talk about root causes. Now, repeat violent offenders are training new offenders. So we can lock them up and then the next batch is gonna come along. And we can keep them behind bail and then the next batch is gonna come along. We have got to do more and say more than just that. I'm gonna beat that in the head until I can't say it anymore. I think that that's one tool. There's more, and we need to fund it. We have to fund to protect our city and to protect our children and to protect our seniors. We need more money for more programs, for more outreach, for more jobs, for more training, for even for repeat offenders when they get out, right? If you don't give them anything, where do we think they're gonna go? Right back to doing the same thing that they know, because they don't have a second chance. You know, AISS can only do so much. There's other programs that can do the work too, yet the sheriff's department get its lion's share of the city funding. Now, we gotta be real and talk about these issues for real. This is not on you, Adam, but I gotta say it for the public,
I'm listening.
right?
Yep.
I wanna know more about Evolve. So if Evolve sees a gun or what they perceive to be a gun, what is the next step? What happens after that?
So again, I'm trying to give you as much as I can without divulging
okay.
everything, right?
So
But
it sees a
it's-
gun on my child.
So it doesn't say gun, gun, gun. It recognizes something that could be a weapon. Just like if you go through a metal detector and it beeps, right? If you have a cell phone on you, it's gonna beep. That doesn't mean you have a weapon,
Right.
okay? So the artificial intelligence is analyzing and saying this could be a gun. And you then go to a secondary search where you're searched and it's either ruled out. I mean, obviously there's false activations. You know, but just like a metal detector, you know, you go through until you're clear. And again, I can only tell you what we're doing at the one school that we've rolled it out so far. I sat there for 2 days, both mornings, and watched every single student come in. And, you know, it's, there's definitely false activations, but that's the system working. That's the system saying, this could be a weapon. We pull them aside. It tells you exactly, again, if it's in the backpack or it's here or it's there, it tells you exactly where to look. You look, make sure there's no weapon. Okay, it was a laptop. Oops, it set it off, and they go on their way.
So every single activation, every single beep, every
Every single.
person that beeps
Yes.
is getting
Yes.
searched.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, that was something, that. I
Everyone
wanted
who
to know.
activates will be searched.
And then I wanted to just follow up on what Counselor Douglas said. I do think Captain Duda got a little bit, defensive, not you. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit, because it was a fair question. What else are we doing in the area? Like, it is a crime area. We sit at C3 every week and we talk about all these crimes that are happening, vehicles being stolen, this and that, this and that. And it was a fair question. Like, are there any any additional things that the police department want to put in place, especially around our most prized possessions, the children? Well, we're all prizes, right? But these are our future. Is there anything additional the police department is gonna do to protect the students of the schools? I think it was fair. And we know it is a risk area, just like there's other risk areas in the city of Springfield. But right now, we're talking about these two schools in particular. We're talking about that area in particular. What else is gonna be done in those areas? Captain,
Captain Duda?
I'm here. I did not get defensive.
okay,
I'm trying to explain to you police operations. I'm sorry if you thought I got defensive, but I did not.
okay,
We provide a lot of police resources to those areas. There's
Mhm.
officers assigned to those schools, but that area, 24 hours a day, you could sit there and say, that's a high crime area. But the people that showed up there that day were in a registered vehicle. They showed up and they just decided to park and bring havoc to that school.
Mhm.
I don't, in my professional opinion, I don't know how you can prevent somebody from sitting at home somewhere else in Chicopee, coming up with a plan, driving somewhere, and then doing that. There's not much we can do about that. And unfortunate, it's frustrating for me, for Adam, for the police department. I'm not defensive about it. I'm just trying to show you that there's only so much we can do. Nobody can prevent what happened that day. You could have
Right.
30 cops there, say that they pulled in the Dunkin' Donuts and got out and decided to take a walk to the school, which is pretty much primarily what happened. What are we supposed to do? This was a unique event that is tragic and horrible, and we're unfortunately stuck in the middle.
Well, I don't think you're stuck, and I'm also not talking about the people who showed up to the school. My question, just to be very clear, was what other preventative measures is the police department putting in place to protect our prized possessions? I didn't ask about the vehicle or the isolated incident. This isn't something that never, is not like strangers have never entered the school before. This is not first, it's not isolated. Maybe the gunshot is isolated. This isn't the first time that folks came from somewhere else and had a fight at a school before. This is not the first time. It's not. So we're not gonna pretend that they came out of nowhere either. And we're not gonna pretend that this person, because they live in Chicopee, are from Chicopee, because they're not. So let's just be
Well,
clear.
they are.
From
but-
my
okay.
understanding, is the person was called to the school because of something that was happening internally into the school. That's my understanding. I know all parties involved. I'm born and raised in Springfield. The person who's being looked for is a very close relative. And if I knew where he was, you would know too. I
Well,
don't.
I'm sorry for that. I appreciate
No,
that.
I'm
I'd like
sorry
to
for
know
that
where he
too,
is.
but I just want to make sure that we're clear. We're not gonna cover up, we're not gonna falsify stuff. But my question was, are there any additional preventative measures that will take place around the schools? Not to stop this isolated incident from happening. Are we gonna do anything additional to protect the schools as far as you know? And if you don't know, that's fine too. We can all get around the table and talk about it together.
I
That is
think that's
very fair.
No, and I agree. I think it's a great idea, but I don't know what more between what Adam and I do with the school squads and security, what more we can do to prevent an incident like that.
Well, one thing that I think that the school could have done better, because this is not the first time I heard about kids leaving and entering Sci Tech. This isn't first. People at the school had to know. They had to know that these are happening. Know why? Because I guess, truancy officers, maybe Quebec team, they go to Adams Park. Some of the organizations that try to help these kids stay in school and get them off the gang and violence initiative know exactly where to go. Told me, let me say told me, I ain't gonna say us, I don't know who else they talked to, but told me this happens repetitively. They leave the school a lot, go to Sci Tech and get back in. How is that happening?
I can't answer
Without
that.
anyone, I'm gonna ask Adam this question. How is that happening without anybody being alerted? How can these kids just miss all these classes without the parents even being alerted? Like, what is happening? This is not just on you either. I'm talking about the school department as a whole got work to do.
What I can tell you from my end, my department, my purview, we've installed the door alarms.
When did that
and,
happen, Adam?
We just finished doing it. It
Okay.
started last school year
Okay.
and we just finished. Every school has it and part
On
of
every door?
every exterior door.
Every exterior.
And part of the reasoning, obviously, we want to keep people out. We also want to keep people in.
Yes.
And that's part of it.
Mhm.
You know, some of these schools have 50 doors.
Mhm.
We were all kids once, right? Did you stay, you know, I know a couple times I snuck out of school, right? So, you know, it happens.
It does.
It happens. But again, you know, part of what we do is we want to keep them safe in the school, but we also want to keep them safe out of the school, because quite frankly, I feel like they're safer inside the school, and they should be, right? So, it's, yes, is there work to be done on everything? Absolutely, and no one's disputing that, right? You know, from my end, and like Captain Duda said, I mean, that day, everything worked. Our protocols worked, the safety protocols worked. I mean, everything that has
Step
been
the
in
door. Mhm.
you know, accept an error and to that point, you know, and that's, you know, I just want to stress that, you know, we're doing a lot and there's more that can be done. And I don't disagree with anything you said about the multifaceted approach.
Mhm.
I don't disagree with that at all. But, you know, like Captain Duda said, this is extremely hard to prevent. I mean, again, someone coming in from off campus with the intention of coming to fight a kid at dismissal or whatever the intention may have been, called from somebody from the inside of the school. No one knows it's occurring until it happens. So it's very hard, and we're doing everything we can, and there's work, you know, there's work to be done. These principals and these staff are working diligently in these schools to try to keep these kids in school. I mean, it's a struggle. It's a
Yeah,
struggle.
I'm not
And they're-
blaming.
No, I know.
I'm not blaming you or the staff. I just want to know what more is gonna be done. And then, as far as the doors go, it's just hard to say which school to do it for first, right? Which school do you put the alarms on? Because we know that active shooters can enter elementary school as well
Anywhere,
as,
anytime.
you know, any
Yeah.
school in a high risk area or a school that is perceived to be in a safe
Yeah.
area, right? So it
Yeah.
can happen anywhere. So I'm just very glad to hear that you guys have, finished putting the alarm system on all the exterior doors. So that's a great,
Yeah.
accomplishment.
We're
and
trying to
improvement.
think of everything that we can possibly think of
Mhm.
to make these schools safer. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, we are trying to, I mean, I meet with counterparts throughout the country virtually and I've been to seminars and again, I said it in my opening that quite frankly, I believe that we're doing as much, if not more, than any school department in the country. There's some pretty big school departments, and we're trying and we're all ears and we're all for suggestions and other things that can be done. But again, it's extremely hard to stop something like this from happening
Mm.
with people coming in from off campus that have no affiliation, from the school.
I mean, you try with uniforms and things like that, but
Yeah.
some are still similar and
Yeah.
people can put on anything.
No,
So I just really wanted to say thank you.
I appreciate it.
You gave me some real solid answers, but I hope that as a city, we can come together and do more together. And the decision should be made from the community, working with the government and not just the government sitting around the table thinking they know what's best for the community, because they don't. Like, you haven't lived my life, I haven't lived yours, and so we can always learn from each other. That's what equity and inclusion is about. And there needs to just be more of that with our residents of the city of Springfield and our local government.
And the school department would love a seat at that table.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Whitfield. So any other questions for the counselors? From the
Yeah.
counselors?
I just have a comment. I just have a comment.
One moment. Counselor, one moment. Cater Walsh has the floor, and then I'll go
Well,
to you.
Brian hasn't spoken yet. I'll wait till he's done.
That's fine, Catering. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take it away.
I was just gonna back again to the students. What do the students think you should do? I mean, is there any kind of way that you survey them? I'm sure they all have opinions. And I'm sure they could all share things that would be helpful. I don't necessarily think it's all administrators you should be talking to. I think you should be talking to the kids.
Mhm, mhm,
And there had to be a reason why it happened at that school.
mhm.
Kids will definitely speak up after that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, but
Thank you, Counselor Walsh, for your comment.
Thank you.
Counselor Santinello?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank you for holding this meeting. It's been very informative. It was an unfortunate situation that was very difficult to avoid. I'm glad to hear that we have this Evolve system in place at one school. And I think Counselor Whitfield brought up some good points. And it was a very informative meeting. And let's continue this dialogue as a city council, because I know it's a school department issue, but we have to play a role too. And I think we should have more meetings, even jointly with the school department, to make sure, because nothing is more important than the safety of our kids in those schools, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Santinello. So yes, really, nothing is more important than our kids. So I would echo those same statements. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, thank you for coming, taking the time out and explaining in detail what occurred and what you can share. Thank you, Sergeant or Captain Duda, for coming on. So there are some things I'm going to follow up with. So I will reach out to Commissioner Clapper and also Commissioner Akers, who's going to be onboarding soon, Superintendent Clapper and Superintendent-elect Akers, to set up what can we do more in that area. I heard from the counselors, so it's time for us to be proactive. Yes, gun violence is multifaceted. We all can agree to that. We need more hands at the table. We'll come up with some of these solutions. I don't have all the answers. No one in this room has all the answers. If we did, this gun violence would be solved already. Yes, we do need more resources. Yes, we need more mental health. How do we get there? So we have to work together in doing that and really advocating for what's important in our community. We know it's a struggle there as far as our resources. So we want to make sure we're supporting those. I'll also reach out to Superintendent Warwick to find out some data regarding Counselor Walsh's question. So I'll make sure I follow with him, and also, I'll bring up to have a student, survey to find out, if we can set that up somehow, some way, through the mental health folks to get some data. So I'll do some follow-up in there, because I don't want, again, like, Counselor Centeno said, we don't want this to stop here. Summer is approaching. These kids are gonna be going out of school. They still see each other on social media more than what we did. I said last night at our meeting that some locations were off limits. Like, you just wouldn't come to school with a gun. Yeah, you'll come to fight, but now it's just no respect of person. And there's no hierarchy, per se. So we have to be that safety net for our kids. So again, I thank, Adam and your team for what you all did. And also, I want to recognize the, young lady, the police officer, and I forget her name,
Officer Putnam.
Officer Putnam. She reacted swiftly. My understanding is she maced the individual. And if he weren't maced, this could possibly be a whole lot worse.
Mhm.
So I really want to recognize her and her swift actions, and I plan on reaching out to her to, just to say thank you, because we don't get thanks enough. We always hear about the complaints. There are some folks that are doing some great work.
Mhm.
Everybody's not bad. So we want to make sure we recognize it. So I'll end with this. I'll agree with all of our counselors. Counselor Whitfield made some good points. This is the multi-prong. I've been saying that as well. We all have to get to the table to come up with solutions, because I refuse to have another 31 murders in our city. So we cannot have what occurred last year.
Mhm.
So we're committed to it. I want to thank everybody for their time, Captain Duda, and also Adam and all the counselors. Thank you for this crucial issue and coming and showing up for our community.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Will it be better than that fake task force that was put together? And will it be inclusive to the
It will
community?
definitely be inclusive to the community.
Cause that was so fake, that was a ploy, that was a gimmick just to win an election. And then once the election was over, you didn't hear anything else about the task force. You were there. I infiltrated, I wasn't invited. And folks that are most vocal and doing the work, if you're gonna organize this, if you need help organizing it, make sure the people that's really doing the work are at the table and not just folks to fill the room.
Yeah, I didn't organize that, but yes, I plan on including all folks. That's my track record of working with everybody. I don't exclude. It'll be open invitation to everybody who wants to join. Also, Adam, I'd like to work with you to do a tour of our schools. And those that, I want to start with the high schools, specifically at Sci Tech, just to show us around, so that way we kind of get an understanding what kind of occurs.
Yeah. I'd love to have you guys
Yeah.
come and see the system,
That'd be great.
actually the Evolve
Yeah.
system. Give us a little time to work the
So,
bugs out.
yeah, I like
You know,
this. I
once
like
we're-
to
Once
set
they're
that
up and
If it
running.
works on it.
Yes.
To that point, Mr. Chair, too, because I also know that we have a bunch of schools, we've got a lot new schools that are coming online, but I also realize that we also have a lot of aging schools and the infrastructure that we have. And probably the significant investment that it would take to bring them up to par, so it'd be interesting
Yeah.
to see some different options. And just going back to this survey of the students that Counselor Walsh mentioned, that I just want to re-echo that,
Mhm.
because we live in a time where, kids weren't younger, right? The no snitching, I'm not telling.
Mhm.
But in a situation like this, I'm sure you're gonna have a bunch of kids that are gonna be willing to tell you
Yeah.
where all the non-efficient areas, or whatever the term you wanna use, where there's gaps in the security
Yeah.
systems that you probably wouldn't
Yeah.
have known otherwise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I think to that point on the survey, I think now's the time to get them,
Yeah,
for them to speak
Yeah,
up.
it's a great idea.
especially if it's anonymous and they don't have to leave there.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and being a mother of kids who were teenagers once, I know we're talking a lot about safety, but I think it's also important to talk about relationships. And
Mm.
what's a good relationship and what's a bad relationship and what you should look out for. And if you find yourself in a situation that could lead to domestic violence, I mean, there's got to be counseling or programs for that. That should also be a facet in this security. Because we got a lot of young kids together, and I'm sure relationships are a part of it.
Mhm.
Thank you, Counselor Walsh. All right, there's no other comments from the counselors. This meeting
We
is.
got one from them.
Thank you again, Bob, for having this meeting.
All right, one moment, we have a
Thank you.
question. One moment, we have a question from one of our residents.
Hi, my name is Bernice Morris. Adam, I would like to ask you, when the door opened up, do y'all have a system where you can tell exactly what door is open?
Yeah, and that's what we were speaking about before, the door alarm system that we just recently finished putting in. So like I said, when a door opens, it says exactly, we have, like I stated before, we have our EOPs, emergency operation procedures, and in there we have our blueprints of our buildings, and it says they're all numbered. All the exterior doors are numbered, so it says door 4, boop, 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 open.
Mhm.
And the expectation is security or the clerk, whomever it is, depending on the school, goes right to the cameras. We have them all set up, exterior cameras, boom, right on the door. Okay, nothing, it's just a class going outside, or, oh, who is that? And then the response. So,
And another thing too, with the vote, how many did y'all purchase?
say that again?
How many did y'all purchase the new machines y'all have?
Evolve.
We purchased enough to appropriately, disperse them throughout our secondary schools. I don't want to give exact numbers and locations, and I just,
So I just want.
no, I know, it's just, there's some things safety wise, that we just don't want to put out there, because again, if they know they're not at this door, but they're, you know what I mean? So, but enough to, and we're gonna reassess it. When we're done with the rollout, if we need more, nothing more paramount than safety. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board for more money and see what we can do.
Okay,
So, okay,
thank
Any
you,
other
Yeah.
questions?
thank you.
I had a question, I'm late, but, I was wondering, are you guys gonna hire more security?
everything's being looked at. Everything is on the table. I mean, right now we do have security in all of our secondary and alternative schools, but again, everything is being looked at as far as our deployment and where they are, and Quebec officers and numbers, and we're definitely looking at it.
Okay, I have one more question, I don't know if this was addressed, my apologies, came from the sheriff's department. I was wondering about, was there staff at the door? When it's like, cause I think it was dismissal time, and there's staff like regulated at the doors.
In this particular instance, there were multiple staff members at the door.
All right, any other questions? Going once, going twice.
I just want to make a comment, not necessarily a question. I know you talked about, and I'm just a community resident, like Ms. Rochelle.
Not just.
Community resident.
We pay taxes.
But at any rate, I know you talked about, the Evolve. And so that's for students that are actually coming into the school.
Mhm.
And like the first thing that came to my head was, well, would that have helped in this situation,
Wouldn't have.
you know?
It wouldn't have. Again, these are people from the outside that, it wouldn't have helped with this particular situation.
And so I think that, in addition to that, there may need to be, like Ms. Stephanie said, like some rolling patrols or something like that.
Mhm.
I can speak, again, there's Quebec officers, Springfield Police in our schools, which are constantly patrolling and outside. I know our security guards are constantly walking around the outside of the building. Unfortunately, you can't be everywhere at the same time. So it's, if you do a patrol and you go back into school, you do your normal duties, and they show up 30 seconds later, again, this particular situation is very, very difficult to mitigate. But again, we're doing our best. And
Cameras might be
Yeah.
useful.
and we have a lot of new cameras up where all of our exteriors are covered, and that's part of the security guard's duties as well. Eyes on the camera at all times, and if you see something out of place, you respond to it.
Mhm.
I have a question. I noticed that the glass at SciTech was not bulletproof or shatterproof. As a parent with 3 kids in high school and 3 in middle school and 2 in elementary, if it was an active shooter, but if it was somebody that was standing outside of the school and wanted to shoot at that school, they could get all those children and staff walking in that hallway. So I was concerned about where you guys think about replacing that glass with maybe something else or?
I would have to defer to our facilities department on that. I mean, I could imagine that the cost throughout the 70 buildings in our city to make all bulletproof glass would probably be pretty astronomical, but again, everything's on the table and everything's there to be discussed. So I'll certainly, speak to especially the first floor windows, right?
Yeah.
Schools that, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't have to do every single window in school, but it's been talked about.
Maybe the
Believe me,
front
it's been talked
windows.
about for
Right.
not just because of this. And we're constantly revisiting our security plans and protocols. That's part of my job, that's what we do. So we're, believe me, it's been talked about and it'll be talked about again.
And we gotta consider if we need to break the glass to get out, if it's a fire or something
So,
like that. we-
Again,
we
there
can't
are certain
safety
reasons,
proof
yeah,
Every
it's,
glass,
yeah.
and the
Yep.
expense, like. We might say we pay taxes, but it doesn't mean that the money is not accounted for. And so everything is an expense, and
Yep.
so it has to be cost benefit analysis done
Yep.
as well.
but
But
you're
I'm just-
absolutely right.
I'm
That's,
just glad to hear about the alarms on the
Yep.
door, more cameras, like, these are things that wasn't in place before,
Yeah.
so.
Sounds like you guys were already being proactive.
Yeah,
Prior to
proactive.
this, so we definitely can appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
And obviously going from, I totally hear you on that. We also have some more schools that we built them to be kind of community playgrounds.
Yeah.
And so we kind of walk this fine line of, we want to make sure that these schools and the playgrounds they have, that they're inviting to folks after. And so what's that kind of middle ground of like, we want to keep it safe, but we also want to have community folks to be able to use the
Right.
resources. So those are conversations I think us as a community, when we're designing these schools and, the parks and whatever, I mean, these are, real conversations that we need to have.
Absolutely. Thank you, counselors.
you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
All right, time now is 6:58. This public safety meeting on March 19th, but Tuesday is adjourned. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.